All right, we are here in the foil drive booth with Paul Martin, who helped develop and innovate the foil drive, which has made our top 5 list of most innovative, awesome products here at the AWSI trade show for 2025.
Yep.
Let's maybe start off with how and what motivated you guys to come up with this product?
Well, it was something that I personally wanted for myself 4.5 years ago when I got into foiling. Having come from surfing and then getting into foiling, I worked out very quickly how difficult it was to get enough speed to get on foil and make it all happen on a wave face. And so then I ended up going and building some e-foils, some bigger ones, typically what you'd buy now in an e-foil. And whilst they worked and I could foil around and I could do the act of foiling, they were way too heavy and I didn't actually enjoy the foiling experience on an e-foil. So I was like, well, I wonder how far you could go in the opposite direction. What's the smallest, lightest, most nimble possible thing that you could make that still had enough power and impact that it could change the way that you get onto foil and foil? So that's where it all started. And it started with Gen 1, the original Assist, and then we did the Assist Plus, which is what we had at last AWSI. That was really painful because that show we actually had the Gen 2 in the car, but we weren't quite ready for release and distribution and mass manufacturing, so we couldn't display it last year. So it's nice to be able to come back this year and show everyone Gen 2 for what it is. And so it really was built out of just a selfish desire to want to be able to do more foiling. I wanted to be able to catch whatever wave whenever I wanted to, have more access to more conditions. I mean, we were up the hatchery the other day and it was like 40 miles an hour wind, and we were motoring upwind and turning around and downwinding all by ourselves. We didn't even need to do shuttles. So it's just really came down to I just wanted to enjoy the foiling part as much as I could, and that's why Gen 2's been built with the modular motor system where you can move it up and down the mast, so that when you're on foil there's no motor. You shut it down and you just free foil and you got that purest feeling. So that's really what I do. I wanted to electrify it but not ruin the purest feeling of foiling in its purest sense.
Yeah, we definitely achieved it. I borrowed one of the Assist Plus from you last year, learned how to use it this summer.
Yeah.
I've been riding Great Lakes swell when the wind dies. It's been like, I didn't think I'd be paddling into stuff like that ever in my life.
Yeah.
And foiling on it. Like, it must be pretty amazing to realize the number of spots that you've opened up to people riding waves.
Yeah, it's been really humbling. I mean, we sell these units all over the planet, and some of the best foilers in the world, like the most elite foiling athletes on this planet, some of them ride it and have fun on it, and it's not forced. It's like their own choice to use it. That's the greatest accolade I think anyone could have. Myself, that's the way I feel about it. Is that if some of the best foilers actually enjoy using it, I just get a grin every time. And right the way down to complete new entrants to the sport that are learning to foil from day one, it's been amazing to be able to help get lots of new people into this emerging sport and allow them to get into that fun foiling bit quicker with less hassle and sort of like a more immediate success rate, I suppose. Yeah.
That's pretty sick. So I definitely found when I was learning on it that having the motor pushing from on the mast makes you stand a little bit further forward on the board, and then diminishes the turning ability. And then from watching the guys out here on the water today, they're ripping hard and carving hard.
Yeah.
What are they doing differently than me as a beginner out there?
You just got to, it's just a slightly different discipline, but really a lot of people they have their box too far back. So your stance and your position's not quite right. Yeah. In most cases, you just want to move the unit forward. Yeah. And it helps neutralize the whole balance equation. But I mean, I can rip harder on a foil drive than I can on a normal board, only because I'm so used to that setup now, and that's what I've acclimatized to. And I can go from full power to depowered flight, and it won't even dip. It's only because you just get used to it and you know what to expect. So, no, there's nothing fundamentally different other than just practice and getting your head around it.
I'll move my mask forward. Got it right out of the gate.
So,
well, very cool. So you guys all sold out of last year's models now through the retailers, and you're moved on to the new current model?
Yep. Yeah, so people are still buying the original Gen 1. I mean, it's at a lower price point, which is obviously a different thing. The Gen 2's just dominated the company sales. And yeah, we're just pumping them out all over the world. So
let's slide down here and take a quick look.
Sure. So, I mean, you've obviously got the main housing, which is the Gen 2 unit, which is made out of a billet machined block of aluminium. They're not cheap cast parts. It's actually one big lump of aluminium, perfectly CNC'd down and anodized. And then you've got your battery system. I mean, these are incredibly high energy density. Like, they're the smallest, lightest, most energy dense battery in the industry by miles. That's why you can get such a long run time and so much power out of it. So we really push this to the limit. And it's super easy. You just slide the pack in, grab the nose cone, push it on, open latches. That's it. You go in the water. Like, it's painless. Like,
so how many minutes of e-foiling time can you get?
I've never ridden and or picked up an e-foil.
Depends on how big you are, but like if you're on a reasonable sized wing and you're just cruising around, like you can get 50 minutes an hour. Most people get sort of 45 minutes or something like that, because they tend to start to want to go faster and run smaller wings and whatever. But yeah, 45 minutes to an hour is more than achievable. And on a battery that's typically 1/6 the weight of an e-foil battery.
Yeah, there's so much lighter than it.
Yeah, it's quite amazing runtime for the size and weight.
Any tips for like making the batteries work their best as far as charging and discharging and storage?
Not really. I mean, they've made them pretty simple. Just plug it in and it'll charge and come back and it's done. You try and want to avoid discharging them right down to zero every single time. No lithium battery likes that. If you get down to about 10%, then sort of call it quits and come in. But going to zero, it doesn't matter if it's a phone or a foil drive, they don't really like it. And just leaving them fully charged for months on end is not a good idea.
You can fully charge them the night before, no problem?
Sure. Yeah, do it all the time. It's no problem. So, yeah, it's been extremely cool to come back this year and see everyone riding them and so many of the tents and just so many organic customers just driving along and seeing them zipping up and down and using them. So, and they come up and introduce themselves and say thanks. It's awesome. Yeah.
So you're a bigger guy, kind of my size.
Yeah.
What's your favorite setup to ride right now?
Well, I'm 6'2", 96 kilos, which I think's 215 pounds, something like that. Back home, we're pretty spoiled for good surf, so we have like reasonable sort of waves, lots of energy in it. Favorite setup? Probably a Rocket, F1 Rocket 4.6 with the Gen 2, and I've been riding the Code 850S with the no limits mast, the integrated high modules mast. It's just sick. Just catch anything and nice and light and pick it up with one hand and just throw it in the water and go.
How about if you were just riding in flat water with like the fuel bit of swelling? What would you ride?
Flat water, I mean, if it's really small and you want a bit of extra board to sort of get going, there's some of these Axis boards, and then there's these Sonova boards that they just started building, which are a
I'm very impressed.
collaborative foil drive branded board. So this has been designed for foil drive, this board. It's got a very flat hull, so it gets going real easy, and it skips along the surface of the water real easy, and pop, you can pop up and make it happen in smaller swells. So a 4.8, 4.11 is sort of what I work with. But again, it's condition dependent. We're very lucky in Australia to have good swell.
How does this integrated mast system work with the connection down here? Is that going to swaps out pretty easily?
Well, we build all of these integrated masts in our factory in Australia. So effectively the cable comes out of the unit, which is a plug, and then there's the wiring loom goes through the actual mast, through quite an intricate part in here, and then into the motor. So really you're just removing the cable from being external and you're making it internal, which just makes it more hydrodynamic. But you do lose the fact that you can't adjust the position of the pod. So that's where the external one, like on that one,
being able to justify.
you can justify moving it up and down as much as you
So would
like.
there be multiple cable lengths for that setup there?
Yeah.
I like that too.
So you can adjust the height you want to run it at.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I definitely played around with mine a lot. Like 17.5 centimeters for me was like a nice little sweet spot.
Yeah.
Power for
Yeah.
and being able to pump around.
Exactly, and a lot of people do use these things in different ways. That's I think that part of the beauty of the product. It's totally modular, and you can chop and change and move stuff around.
Well, sweet.
Cool.
I'll send everybody to your website, and I'm going to get back on the water soon.
Thank you very much.
Just a little. I need to way bigger.